The airlock hissed open as Elias Reed pushed himself through the entrance of Starpoint Station. The abandoned research facility floated silently in orbit around Jupiter's moon Europa, its darkened corridors a stark contrast to the brilliant stars visible through the observation windows. Command. I've successfully docked and entered the station, Elias reported through his helmet. Come. Initiating preliminary systems check now? Copy that, Reed, came the crackling response. Remember, this is just a salvage mission. Get the data cores and any usable equipment, then get out. That station's been abandoned for 2 years. Elias switched on his suit lights, illuminating the dusty control room. Understood. Read out. As an experienced salvage astronaut, Elias had seen his share of abandoned outposts, but Starpoint Station felt different. The equipment appeared operational, just powered down. No signs of damage or emergency evacuation. It was as if the previous crew had simply vanished. That's odd, he muttered, running his gloved hand over a console. No dust. A soft sound echoed from a nearby corridor, something between a whisper and the hum of electronics. Elias froze, hand moving instinctively to his utility tool. Hello, he called out, immediately feeling foolish. No one had been here for years. The sound came again, more distinct this time. A gentle footfall. Command, are you sure this station is abandoned? Elias whispered into his cum, receiving only static in response. The station's structure must be interfering with the signal. Slowly, he moved toward the sound, utility tool held firmly before him. As he turned the corner, his light illuminated a figure standing in the corridor. Elias gasped, stumbling backward. It wasn't human. The being stood slightly taller than him, with a distinctly feminine form. Her skin shimmered with a subtle purple hue that seemed to catch the light like polished amethyst. Large almond-shaped eyes regarded him with curiosity rather than fear. You are not from the Institute, she said, her voice melodic with an accent he couldn't place. Her words were perfect English, though her lips moved slightly out of sync with the sounds. What are you? Elias managed, his heart pounding. The being tilted her head. My name is Nira. I am a xenobiological researcher from Lyra Prime. Elias struggled to process her words. You're extraterrestrial? Yes. She moved closer, and Elias noticed she wore what appeared to be a form-fitting environmental suit, though unlike any design he'd seen. And you are human. From Earth, how long have you been here? Elias asked, his initial fear giving way to fascination. 3 of your Earth months, she replied. This station provides an excellent observation point for studying Jupiter's electromagnetic fluctuations. But this is a human facility, Elias said. Does Earth know about you? About your people? Nira's expression shifted to what Elias interpreted as amusement. Your governments know of us, yes, but the general population does not. It was deemed ... premature. She gestured toward the main control room. I have restored partial power to the station's core systems. Perhaps you would like to remove your environmental suit. The atmosphere is stable. Elias hesitated, every training protocol screaming against trusting an unknown entity. Yet something about Nira's calm demeanor reassured him. I need to report this, he said. My mission parameters have changed significantly. Communications will be operational soon, Nira said. In the meantime, I could use assistance with the station's auxiliary systems. Your human perspective might solve problems I've encountered. Elias studied her face, searching for deception but finding only genuine interest. Against his better judgment, he began unsealing his helmet. Command is going to have a field day with this, he muttered. NYRA looked at him dead in the eyes as he removed his helmet. Human facial expressions are fascinating, she said softly. Yours especially. And just like that, Elias knew his routine salvage mission had become something far more extraordinary. 3 days had passed since Elias's unexpected encounter with Nira. The abandoned Starpoint Station had transformed from a salvage site into an impromptu research post. Command had been surprisingly calm when Elias finally reported his discovery, instructing him to maintain positive contact and facilitate mutual information exchange. Bureaucratic language for don't mess this up. Your species has impressive adaptive capabilities, Naira observed as she watched Elias repair a damaged power coupling. They worked side by side in the station's engineering bay, surrounded by tools and open panels. That's a nice way of saying we're stubborn, Elias replied with a smile. He found himself increasingly comfortable in Naira's presence. Fascinated by her methodical approach to problems and her subtle expressions, Naira handed him a specialized tool without being asked. I've been studying humans for years, but observation doesn't compare to direct interaction, so I'm a lab specimen? Elias teased, accepting the tool. More like a collaborative research partner, she replied, her violet eyes meeting his. My people value knowledge exchange above all else. As they worked, Elias learned more about Naira's world. The Lyrans had mastered interstellar travel centuries ago, but maintained a policy of non-interference with developing civilizations. Earth had only recently been classified as approaching readiness for formal contact. That's why you're here? Elias asked. To decide if we're ready to join the galactic community? Naira hesitated, her fingers pausing over a control panel. Not exactly. My mission is... personal. The lights in the engineering bay suddenly dimmed, then brightened as the repaired coupling came online. We did it, Elias exclaimed, but his enthusiasm faded when he saw Naira's troubled expression. What's wrong? She turned away, moving toward the observation window that showcased Jupiter's swirling storms. I should not be sharing this with you, but... double quotes. She touched the window, her purple skin reflecting in the glass. I am not here with official sanction. Elias approached slowly. You're here against your people's wishes? My father was part of the original contact team with Earth, she explained. He disappeared during a mission to this very station 2 years ago. Understanding dawned on Elias. The mysterious abandonment of Starpoint Station. That was connected to your people? Naira nodded. A small group of Lyran researchers were conducting joint studies with select human scientists. Then something went wrong. Her voice grew soft. All communications ceased. Both sides classified the incident, but I couldn't accept the official explanation. So you came looking for answers, Elias said. I found this instead. Naira retrieved a small device from her suit and activated it. A holographic display appeared, showing complex molecular structures, evidence of experimentation that violated our most sacred laws. Elias studied the display. What am I looking at? Attempts to merge Lyran and human genetic material. Naira's voice trembled slightly. Forbidden by both our worlds. The implications hung heavy in the air between them. Who would authorize something like this? Elias asked. That's what I need to discover, Naira replied. Before they find me here, as if summoned by her words, an alert chimed from the main console. A ship was approaching. Naira looked at Elias, fear evident in her eyes. They've found me. Without thinking, Elias reached out, taking her hand in his. Her skin was warm with a subtle texture unlike anything he'd felt before. We'll figure this out, he promised. Together, Naira looked down at their joined hands, then back to his face with an expression of wonder. This is why they fear human emotions, she whispered. You feel so deeply, so quickly. The approaching ship's signal grew stronger, and time was running out. But in that moment, watching Jupiter's storms reflected in Naira's violet eyes, Elias knew he was already committed to a path from which there was no return. That's an Institute vessel, Naira said, her voice tight with tension as they watched the approaching ship on the monitor. The sleek craft glided toward Starpoint Station with predatory grace. Institute, Elias asked, already formulating escape plans in his mind. The Scientific Preservation Institute. They enforce research protocols and double quotes. She hesitated, ensure compliance with non-interference directives. Elias understood the unspoken implication. They're like your police. Worse, they're zealots who believe contact with developing species should be minimized. Naira's hands flew across the control panel. If they discover a human here with access to Lyran technology, both our lives are forfeit. Elias joined her at the console. We need to hide you, no, Naira countered. We need to hide you. I can claim I came alone. The docking alert sounded, indicating the Institute vessel had initiated connection procedures. Elias felt adrenaline surge through his system. The maintenance shaft, he suggested, pointing to a narrow access tunnel. It leads to the emergency pod bay. If things go bad, you follow me there. Naira looked at him with surprise. You would risk yourself for me? Someone you barely know? I know enough, Elias replied simply. A decision formed in Naira's eyes. In one fluid motion, she reached for the seam of her environmental suit, unzipping it partway to reveal a luminescent marking on her collarbone. This is a genetic signature, she explained, guiding his hand to touch the marking. It contains my biological identification sequence. Elias felt a tingling sensation as his fingers traced the marking. Why are you showing me this? Because once shared, it creates a biological resonance. Her eyes held his. The Institute's sensors will read us as a unified presence. They won't be able to distinguish you from me. You're linking us, Elias asked, understanding the magnitude of her action. It's temporary, Naira assured him, though something in her tone suggested otherwise. But it will keep you safe. The tingling from the marking spread up Elias's arm, a warm sensation that settled in his chest. As it did, he felt a strange doubling of awareness, flashes of memories that weren't his, emotions layered beneath his own. I can feel ... double quotes, he began, struggling to articulate the sensation. My consciousness brushing against yours, Naira finished. It's meant for emergency communication between our kind. The ship's docking procedure, completed with a metallic clang that reverberated through the station. Naira quickly rezipped her suit and squeezed Elias's hand. Remember, they must believe I'm alone, she whispered. The resonance will help you understand their language. But stay hidden. Elias nodded, slipping into the maintenance shaft just as the airlock began to cycle. Through a small ventilation grate, he watched as two tall figures entered the control room. Like Naira, they had purple-hued skin, but their expressions were cold, calculating. Research specialist Naira. One of them addressed her in a language Elias shouldn't have understood, yet somehow did. Your unauthorized presence here violates Institute directives. I'm continuing my father's work, Naira replied steadily. The work you attempted to erase. The taller figure stepped forward. Your father broke our most sacred laws. The human genetic experiments were an abomination. He would never participate in such experiments, Naira countered. He was trying to stop them. Yet here you stand, the second figure said. Infected with human resonance, he held up a scanning device. We detect the contamination within you. Elias felt a chill. The resonance Naira had shared was exposing her. The station contains residual human biological material, Naira explained. I've been studying it to understand what happened. The Institute officials exchanged glances. Then you won't object to returning with us for decontamination. From his hiding place, Elias could see the subtle shift in Naira's posture, fear carefully controlled. And if I refuse? She asked. The lead official's expression hardened. Then we'll be forced to implement quarantine protocol. This station will be atomized with you on it, through the resonance bond. Elias felt Naira's spike of fear, followed by grim determination. She was going to sacrifice herself to protect him. Without fully understanding what drove him, Elias pushed open the ventilation grate and stepped into the control room. She's not alone, he announced, standing tall despite his racing heart. The Institute officials turned in shock, reaching for weapons at their sides. Elias? No. Naira cried out, but he moved to stand beside her, their shoulders touching. Whatever she's done, whatever she knows, I'm part of it now. And where I come from, we don't abandon our partners. The word partners hung in the air, carrying weight beyond its immediate meaning. Through their bond, Elias felt Naira's surprise, followed by something deeper, warmer. The Institute officials raised their weapons, but hesitated. Confusion evident in their expressions as they studied the readings on their scanners. This is unprecedented, the lead official murmured. The resonance between them, ... double quotes in that moment of uncertainty, Elias knew they had a chance. Slim, but real. He reached for Naira's hand, and as their fingers intertwined, the resonance between them strengthened, creating something neither human nor Lyran, but entirely new. "Lower your weapons," the lead Institute official commanded after a tense moment. "This situation requires ... assessment." Elias stood firm beside Naira, their linked hands creating a connection that transcended the physical. Through their resonance, he sensed her calculating possible escape routes. Weighing options with methodical precision, the human shows signs of complete resonance. "Integration," the second official said, studying his scanner with disbelief. "This shouldn't be possible without years of exposure." "My name is Elias Reed," Elias stated firmly, "and I'm not leaving this station without Naira." The lead official's expression shifted subtly. "Fascinating. It speaks as if it has autonomy in this matter." "He is not an it," Naira responded, her voice carrying an edge Elias hadn't heard before. "And his resonance with me proves what my father always claimed, that humans possess capacities beyond our understanding." A silent communication seemed to pass between the Institute officials. The taller one tucked away his weapon and produced a different device. "The Council will want to study this anomaly," he said. "Both specimens will be contained and transported to the research facility." Elias felt Naira's panic spike through their connection. Images flashed in his mind: sterile laboratories, invasive procedures, endless imprisonment. "That's not going to happen," Elias said, backing slowly toward the secondary control panel. Years of emergency training guided his movements as he subtly positioned himself near the station's defense systems. The lead official stepped forward. "Resistance is a sudden explosion," rocked the station, cutting off his words. Warning lights flashed as emergency systems activated. "Proximity alert." Naira called out, accessing the main console. "Another vessel has breached our security perimeter." The monitor displayed a rugged battlecruiser approaching rapidly, nor Lyran in design. "Mercenaries," the second Institute official hissed. "The genetic research data must have been leaked to the black market." The station shuddered as another impact hit, sending equipment crashing to the floor. Through the observation window, Leah spotted smaller craft deploying from the mercenary ship. "They're sending boarding parties," he warned. The Institute officials exchanged glances, their priorities visibly shifting. "This facility cannot fall into outsider hands," the leader declared. "Initiate purge protocol." "No." Naira moved to block their access to the main console. "There's too much at stake: my father's research, the truth about what happened here." Another blast rocked the station, more violent than before. The impact threw Elias against the wall, momentarily breaking his physical contact with Naira. Instantly, he felt the resonance connection weaken, creating an unexpected sense of loss. The emergency lighting activated as main power fluctuated. In the red glow, Elias watched the Institute officials attempting to override the station's systems. "They're going to destroy the station with us on it," he realized aloud. A harsh metallic sound echoed from the far corridor, the unmistakable noise of the outer airlock being forcibly breached. The mercenaries were inside. In the chaos, Naira made her decision. She moved to Ilias's side, her expression resolute. "We need to reach my ship. It's docked at the auxiliary port." The lead Institute official raised his weapon again. "Neither of you will leave with any knowledge of this facility." The station rocked with another impact, more severe than before. Structural integrity alarms blared as oxygen levels began to drop in the outer sections. "We don't have time for this," Elias said. And in one fluid movement, he accessed the emergency protocols he'd spotted earlier. The containment doors slammed down, separating them from the Institute officials. "That won't hold them long," Naira warned, already moving toward the emergency access corridor as they ran through the dimly lit passageways. The station continued to deteriorate around them. Distant weapons fire indicated the mercenaries were engaging with the Institute officials. "Who are these mercenaries?" Elias asked as they navigated the twisting corridors. "Genetic traffickers," Naira explained between breaths. "They sell biological innovations to the highest bidder. If they learn about our resonance..." She didn't need to finish the thought. Through their connection, Elias felt the implications. They would become the most valuable research specimens in the galaxy. They reached a junction where the corridor split from both directions. They heard approaching footsteps. "We're trapped," Elias whispered. Naya pulled him into a small maintenance alcove. Their bodies pressed close in the narrow space. In the dim emergency lighting, her purple skin seemed to glow with an inner luminescence. "The resonance," she said suddenly, placing her hands on either side of his face. "If we strengthen it, I can shield our biological signatures from their scanners." Elias understood immediately. "What do you need me to do?" "Trust me," she whispered, leaning closer until her forehead touched his, "and know that this changes everything between us." As their foreheads connected, the resonance surged between them like an electrical current. Elias gasped as Naira's consciousness flowed more fully into his mind. Her memories, her feelings, her very essence intertwining with his own, in that profound moment of connection. As mercenaries and Institute agents converged around them, Elias realized he had fallen in love with Nyrone, just her physical form, but the brilliant, determined spirit now linked with his own. "I trust you," he whispered, closing his eyes as the resonance enveloped them both in a protective cocoon of shared consciousness. Dawn broke over the mountains of Lyra Prime, bathing the crystalline structures in soft lavender light. Ely stood on the balcony of the small dwelling he now shared with Naira, marveling at how alien yet familiar the landscape had become to him in the 3 months since their escape from Starpoint Station. "Still adjusting?" Naira asked, joining him on the balcony. She wore a traditional Lyran attire, flowing fabric that complemented her purple skin, the resonance marking on her collarbone now matched by a similar pattern on Elias's skin. "Every day gets easier," he replied, taking her hand naturally. Their permanent resonance bond made physical touch more than just comfort. It was communication at its most honest level. "Though I still can't get used to having 3 moons." Naira smiled, the expression more natural on her face now that she'd spent time among humans. "The council meets today to review my father's complete research files. The evidence we recovered from the station was irrefutable. They had barely escaped, with their lives and the precious data. The mercenaries and Institute officials had been so focused on fighting each other that Naira's small research vessel had slipped away undetected. By the time they reached Lyra Prime, the resonance bond had stabilized into something unprecedented, a permanent link between human and Lyran consciousness. "Do you think they'll finally acknowledge what happened?" Elias asked. Naira's expression grew solemn. "The genetic experiments were conducted by rogue elements from both our worlds. Neither side wants to admit their involvement, but your father tried to stop them," Elias reminded her, the knowledge clear in his mind from their shared memories. "Yes, and he paid with his life." Naira looked out at the horizon. "But his final research notes prove that what happened between you as our resonance bond was exactly what he predicted was possible. Natural, harmonious integration between our species." Elias felt the weight of their unique position. They were living proof that humans and Lyrans could connect at the most fundamental level, a truth that threatened centuries of Lyran non-interference doctrine. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, feeling her anxiety through their bond. Naira turned to face him fully. "The Council fears what we represent, Elias. A future where the boundaries between our worlds blur." She touched the resonance marking on his collarbone. "But they also cannot deny the evidence before them." A soft chime indicated the arrival of their transport vessel. The time had come to face the High Council. As they prepared to leave, Elias paused at the dwelling's entrance, suddenly overwhelmed by how far he had come. 6 months ago, he had been a simple salvage astronaut. Lonely after a failed relationship, seeking purpose in the empty corridors of abandoned stations. "Having second thoughts?" Naira asked, sensing his emotional shift. "Just the opposite," Elias replied. "I was thinking about choices and consequences. If I hadn't taken that salvage mission, ... someone else would have found me," Naira said with certainty. "But they wouldn't have been you. The transport carried them to the council chambers, an imposing structure of crystalline arches and ancient stone. As they walked the long corridor toward the central chamber, Lyran stopped to stare at the human in their midst. some with curiosity, others with undisguised disapproval. The massive doors to the council chamber opened, revealing a semicircular arrangement of seated Lyran elders. At the center sat a dignified figure whom Elias recognized immediately from Naira's memories, the High Arbiter. Oldest and wisest of the council. Researcher Naira and human Elias Reed, the Arbiter announced formally. You stand before this council as evidence of a protocol violation of the highest order. Naira stepped forward, her posture proud. We stand before you as evidence of a new possibility. The Arbiter's expression remained impassive. The permanent resonance bond between species was expressly forbidden. In our oldest laws, laws created before you truly understood human potential, Naira countered. My father's research proves that our species are compatible at levels we never imagined. And yet his experiments led to disaster, another council member interjected. Elias felt a surge of protective anger through their bond. Before Naira could respond, he stepped forward. With respect, he addressed the council directly. Her father conducted no experiments. He discovered that others were attempting to force genetic compatibility through artificial means. He died trying to stop them. A murmur ran through the council at hearing the humans speak with such authority on Lyran matters. The Arbiter leaned forward. And what would you have us do, human? Your presence here already violates centuries of protocol. Elias stood tall beside Naira, their shoulders touching. I would have you recognize that the universe rarely respects our carefully constructed boundaries. What happened between Naira and me occurred, naturally a resonance bond that formed because it was possible, not because it was engineered. We represent a natural evolution, Naira added, one that could lead to a true alliance between our worlds. The council chambers fell silent as the Arbiter studied them. Through their bond, Elias and Naira remained steady, their shared strength greater than their individual fears. Finally, the Arbiter spoke. The resonance you share is indeed unprecedented, it suggests. Possibilities we had not considered. He paused, his ancient eyes revealing a hint of curiosity. The council will require time to evaluate the complete data from Starpoint Station. And until then? Naira asked. Until then, you will remain under observation? The human may stay as our ... guest. The way he said the words suggested Ilias's status remained precarious. As they left the council chambers, Leah sensed Naira's mixed emotions, relief that they hadn't been separated, concern for the uncertain future. It's a beginning, he reassured her, as they stepped into the purple twilight of Lyra Prime's evening. Naira turned to him, taking both his hands in hers. No, it's a continuation, she corrected softly. What began on that abandoned station was just the first moment of something much larger than either of us. She reached up to touch his face, her eyes reflecting the rising moons. Through their resonance, Elias felt the depth of her feelings, the wonder, the fear, the love that transcended the biological differences between them. Whatever comes next, he promised, we face it together. As night fell over Lyra Prime, a human and a Lyran stood beneath alien stars, their joined minds imagining a future neither of their worlds had dared to envision. Their story, like the resonance they shared, had no ending, only the promise of new chapters waiting to be written in the vast expanse beyond the stars.